Howdy, welcome to Formula Forecast, where we discuss the twists and turns that Mother Nature throws at us. This week, we're at Monza.
Towards Vale now. Who's going to be last on the brakes? Leclerc has that inside line. Through goes Hamilton. Unbelievable stuff.
After a relatively boring race last week at Zandvoort, we hit the reset button this week for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. The Temple of Speed, as it's called, is the oldest circuit on the calendar, dating all the way back to 1923. True to its name, Monza is the fastest track on the calendar and has been since 1991, with cars typically on full throttle for nearly 80% of the lap. The track has seen many famous moments, but my favorite two are
Mercedes threw everything at him today. Charles Leclerc has coped brilliantly. He won in Spa. He wins in Monza. No, he's not. And there's Max Verstappen right behind Hamilton into the first chicane. Once again, it's wheel to wheel. Hamilton and Verstappen. And this time Verstappen and Hamilton have crashed out. And they are both out.
That's what you get when you don't leave the space.
Last year's Italian Grand Prix winner was Max Verstappen, but the lap record belongs to Rubens Barrichello, set in 2004 with the F2004. Looking at this week's schedule, Friday have FP1 and FP2, FP3 and qualifying are on Saturday, with Sunday as race day. The weather looks to be perfect for this weekend at Monza. Friday and Saturday are both shaping to be very quiet with partly cloudy skies and light and variable winds. High temperatures on both days will hover around 33 degrees Celsius or about 92 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the cause for this good weather this weekend is due to this ridge building over the Italian peninsula. This high-pressure system will suppress any kind of precipitation from occurring and keep winds relatively calm. This trend will continue through Sunday for the race, as you can see, with essentially the same weather as the other 2 days. As for how this will affect the Grand Prix, this is historically a one-stopper, and as I've continuously said this year, these cars are very easy on their tires, so I really don't see that changing. Now, let's catch up on some current news. As I predicted, one more race seat for 2025 has been filled as Jack Doohan has signed with Alpine. This means that only 3 seats are left for 5 of the current drivers on the grid, but with Mercedes most likely signing Kimi Antonelli, who's driving in free practice this week for Mercedes, it's more like 5 drivers for 2 seats. So, the question should be asked, which drivers do you think will be left on the grid from this list? Personally, I think Daniel will take Checo's seat by September and that Bottas will remain at Audi, with the rest updating their LinkedIns. But that's just my opinion, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. Moving on to other developments, speaking of losing seats, James Vowles has once again been inquiring about the short-term services of other drivers to replace Logan Sargent following his free practice wreck this weekend. While I personally don't think he's going to be dropped, and this, guys, is why you don't pre-record videos, as the news broke today, August 27th, that Logan will not be continuing on the season and will be replaced by Williams F2 driver Franco Colapinto. I'm obviously gutted for Logan, as I wanted him to finish out the season, but it wasn't unexpected given how unhappy James Vowles has been. Although I'm not exactly sure they picked Colapinto over Logan, as he's far less experienced and probably just as accident prone, but I digress. Now, back to what I was saying. While I personally don't think he's going to be dropped, as the other options either aren't a true improvement or are tied up, and I'm mainly referring to Lawson, Dragovich, and Schumacher, Kimi Antonelli has been taken out of contention for a midseason driver move by Toto Wolff, who wants to have a proper F2 season in Mercedes. Lawson might be thrown into a V-Carb seat later this season, and Red Bull doesn't really want to help a competitor. Dragovich has been out of the sport for 2 years now, and Mick was realistically just as accident-prone as Logan, so I really don't see a viable option from the field. In the driver's standings, Lando Norris has finally decreased the gap between himself and Max, following a 22nd win over him at Zandvoort. The current gap is 70 points, which has people excited as the math works out to Lando winning the championship by a point if he wins every single race with the fastest lap, even if Max is in second each race. Lewis Hamilton pulled off a similar feat in 2021, but Lando isn't Lewis, and I won't believe it until I see it. Personally, I think he's too inconsistent compared to Max, but next week will certainly say a lot. As to the rest of the standings, no major changes to report. In the constructor standings, the gap between Red Bull and McLaren has dropped to just 30 points, and honestly, I don't see a Red Bull can fight back in the Constructors' Championship with their current situation, as Checo is really struggling to bring in any kind of points, and the RB20 is clearly the slower car compared to the McLaren. Other than that, there's really no changes. As for my predictions for the Grand Prix, let's start with the best 3 teams, bottom 3 teams, and my top 5 drivers in order. In the top 3 teams, I'm going to go with Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes, as Ferrari looks surprisingly close to Mercedes, but I still think Mercedes has the slightly faster car. As for the 3 weakest teams, I think Sauber, Haas, and Alpine will be at the bottom, as Williams probably could have scored points this weekend had Alex not been disqualified. Finally, for my top 5, I think Oscar will win, as McLaren clearly had the fastest car this past weekend. I personally think Max and Lando are going to take each other out this weekend in turn 1, leaving Oscar to pick up the pieces. But with that bold prediction, I think Lewis Hamilton will come in P2, just ahead of Charles Leclerc, And in 4th and 5th, I have George Russell just ahead of Carlos Sainz. I'm also interested to see how y'all think this Grand Prix will shake out, so comment down below your predictions for the race. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week with a new video.